Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm Kevin Willis, and before we get started with today's episode, I get to tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery. That's right, they're back in 2025, and they're doing better than ever. Streetside is an amazing local Cincinnati brewery here on the east side of Cincinnati, located in the Columbia Tusculum neighborhood. They have an awesome brewery, a great place to grab a drink, grab a bite to eat. They also distribute all over the Cincinnati area, so you can definitely find them wherever you are picking up beer. But my favorite thing about Streetside are the events going on at Streetside. Go check them out. I know a bunch of people were there for the Philadelphia game this week and next week. You have Pint Night on March 4th and March 11th from 6 to 9 p.m. Pint Night are great. They have a special limited edition glassware. They get you a beer with that glassware. It's $10 off, $1 off of refills with that. It's an awesome time to go out. I also have got to tell you, on March 8th, it is Lepra Con. That is right. It's a pre-Paddy's Day pub crawl through Cincinnati's oldest neighborhoods. They start at 11 a.m. in Streetside. There's a ton of cool stuff going on there. They've got all the classic green beer, Jello shots, Jameson, Guinness, Irish coffee, all of that and more. Hey, there's a home game on March 8th. Why not get it started off right at 11 a.m. over there at Streetside? And thank you, Streetside, for sponsoring this episode of the Postcast. And on today's episode, well, we are looking back at that Tigres match on Tuesday, and it's really a Rorschach test of how you feel about this team and this season so far. Was this a good performance, going toe-to-toe with the Mexican giant that should have had more goals for the FC? Is this a team that just needs more gelling, a little more time, and they will get there? Is this a bad performance? Is this a sign of lack of concentration, lack of fight? There's so much that can be picked at and pulled apart from this match, and we take our best stab at it. In part two, it's Patreon questions with some good ones about MLS Onside, Apple TV Plus in general. There's some good questions in there. Part three, we wrap it all up with a look at Toronto this week. And the question is, can you name more than 4 players on Toronto's roster? I don't think we can. And that'll be your postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, for now, I'm joined by the Chief. Chief, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm just now realizing that the three of us were all together last night. We could have just knocked this out at the First Financial Club. And we waited to do this, and now Grayson's running late. So
we are expecting to be joined by Grayson. I don't know if you heard the gentleman in front of us last night at the game, but throughout the game, yes, the three of us sat together in the First Financial Club. Thank you, Chief, for opting into your tickets. It was nice to be the beneficiary of that.
So annoying.
But there were two gentlemen seated in front of us who the one was dying laughing the entire time at like our commentary, and he turned around and he's like, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember this, but do you guys know Mystery Science Theater? Yeah, you guys are hilarious. You've made this so worth it. What I appreciate, I don't tell this story to brag, although that was great.
Yeah,
and maybe
sick.
Maybe one day we find a way to commentate about a game in some capacity. But I liked that all three of us declined the opportunity to mention that we have a podcast.
Yeah, no, nobody needs to know that ever. Like, the worst thing you can be identified publicly as is a podcaster.
Yes.
It's like you instantly become less cool. That moment right there, someone appreciating the stupid stuff we're saying during the course of the match. Perfect. And like they will walk away from that thinking, man, that was fun. The minute they know we're podcasters, it's like, oh, it was some podcasters doing a live episode behind us that we didn't ask for.
And also, I think it changes the stakes. Oh, they're podcasters? Well, then on that scale, not that funny, guys.
No. For 3 random dudes all having a beer at the game,
Right.
not bad. But for like 3 people that are attempting to sell sponsorships, this is absurd. No, I wouldn't pay a dime for this. Not one.
Not good enough. It would have been funny to record like a live reaction as the match went on and then just post that.
It's actually really not a bad idea, actually. Does that run afoul of the, I don't know, does MLS have you can't do any broadcast of the game without the express written consent of Major League Baseball or the NFL? Does that count as a broadcast of the game?
I assume it does, but I don't know if they could. I don't know how easy it would be for them to get after us if we were to, say, host a watch along on Discord for an away game sometime.
Yeah. Can I, are we trust tree right now since Grayson's not around?
It's just me and you.
All right, fair enough. And then everybody that's downloading this.
Nope.
My least favorite genre of new media is the watching someone watch something and watching their reactions to things. I don't. So like I used to think that what made me old and out of touch was that I didn't like watching people play video games online, like, Twitch streaming and stuff. I would watch that. I'd see that and I'd think, why would I do that when I could just go get the game and play it myself? Right. That seems exponentially more fun than watching somebody play the game and shout and scream and thank you for the like and the subscribe.
Yes.
Thank you for the $3 super chat. The watching the live reaction watching culture, just I don't get it. I know it's big in the NFL and it's big in like pro wrestling. There's a whole subgenre of this. The reactions feel so forced because other people are watching you. So every time you freak out over something that's happening, it feels very non-genuine.
Yes.
Like it would be one thing if you put a camera and it was you and your friends in your basement and at some point you forgot it was there.
Yeah,
and
it
maybe
needs
it
to
captured
be hidden camera. Yeah, right.
You need to not know you're being filmed in order to get a genuine reaction. The minute they have a camera going and your ability to make money is dependent on how absurd or over the top or the things you do, like that makes you money, then I don't get it. It's not. I'll say this: it's not for me. If it's for somebody, I'm not sure I want to meet who that somebody is, but it is definitely not for me.
I'll say the handful I have seen of, especially sports, they don't seem to be contributing anything. It does appear to be just like yelling and then like getting excited when like a big play happens. I think it would be interesting to offer a level of comedy, a level of analysis, a level of prediction even could be interesting. It does remind me of 2 things, though, for you, Chief. One, I've absolutely noticed this new trend, but I know for a while now, they've had a television program over in the UK that is video cameras set up in living rooms of families watching television shows.
I don't get it. It's so weird.
They just like cut around to different families when something interesting happens in one of their shows. Yeah. It's bizarre.
And you see this too, like I remember when like they'll do like occasionally they'll broadcast like a supercut of these are all the fan reactions when this big play happens. Like there was one for when Evan McPherson hit the field goal in Kansas City to send the Bengals to the Super Bowl. And the only thing I can think of in that moment is who is the psycho that has the camera out to record the reactions versus watching the kick happen? Like if I was a fan of any team, there is no chance I would bring my phone out to record what the crowd reactions were, because I would be so superstitious that me bringing the camera out to capture the crowd reactions would be what jinxes the thing from not happening. And then it is forever my fault that we did this thing or we missed this thing because I was so confident that I needed to get the crowd reaction shot.
Oh, I have taken a couple of good photo or videos during FC Cincinnati games. I have the Austin Berry header against the New York Red Bulls in the Open Cup on my phone, which is exciting to have. But I don't like doing it for that exact same reason.
Yeah.
Like if I record this corner, it's not going to be a goal.
No. The minute I start filming, I am it's like quantum mechanics. I am changing the outcome by measuring it. Like by simply the act of recording it, I am changing what is going to happen in the future for the negative. And I don't want that on my shoulders. It's Ash Wednesday. I'm Catholic. I'm already guilty enough as it is. I don't need that additional guilt on my shoulders.
Yeah.
You know what is funny though is
Please.
that I would absolutely do one of these watch along reaction things just as a goof and go completely over the top and lose my mind. The problem is I think that I would think it's a goof, but then other people would not be in on the bit and just think this guy is losing his mind and acting like a psychopath over every non-call and every corner get up like this is it he's got it he's like throw the headphones down.
I was actually thinking the opposite. I might record me just like sitting quietly watching a game and not really reacting to anything.
Just stone-faced the entire way through.
Just record like 2 or 3 of them and then just have one go live randomly when FCC is playing and just pretend it's a watch along.
It's a watch along, but you're just on your phone tweeting from the post socials. So the only reaction is when something happens, it's you bringing the iPhone up and just starting tapping away. And like you hear the send noise on Twitter.
Watch the post live tweet the game.
It's just ASMR, but it's the keyboard clicks from the iPhone as you tweet away about the match.
People love this.
Right. Do we keep stalling for time or do we just like get on with this match and let Grayson hop in when he gets here?
Let's dive in. When Grayson shows up. FC Cincinnati draws Tigres in the round of 16, leg 1 match.
Leg uno.
It was a funny match because I think FC Cincinnati fans today, we're recording this on Wednesday evening, I think rightfully feel disappointed by the result. But I think if you were to take a step back, at least for me anyway, I am not that disappointed in the result. Giving up the away goal is obviously a bummer. Obviously, you wanted to see some of those better chances put away. But when I go back and think about how the match went, I think it was mostly FC Cincinnati's. I don't think Tigres really challenged them all that much. And I'll say, sure, Tigres was down a couple of their key players. So was FC Cincinnati. And FC Cincinnati did not look outclassed. They looked like they belonged on that field with Tigres. I suspect that will be the case next week down in Mexico, down in Monterrey. Maybe it won't be. But I think that will be the case. And honestly, for an MLS team, sure, it's a moral victory, but that's pretty good. That is not the case for a lot of MLS teams to at least look like a co-equal to one of the giants in Mexico. So for me, I feel pretty good about it. I'm curious how you feel, Chief. And also, by the way, welcome Grayson to the show.
So there's a couple of things I can't unknow sort of about the way last night went down. Number one is I can't unknow that a large portion of Tigres' first 11 was not available for selection, that they didn't even travel to Cincinnati. I think, 3 of their starters didn't even travel to Cincinnati? Am I right on that?
That's what it looks like. At least two. I don't know if Gignac is a regular starter these days, but certainly a big part of their team.
So I can't unknow the fact that they were missing multiple starters. I also can't unknow.
Chief, you got like a thing on your face.
It's Ash Wednesday, brother.
You son of a gun. Canceled.
Come on. If I can't virtue signal that I managed to get to mass once this year besides Christmas, what's the point? So I can't unknow that they were missing starters. I also can't unknow that they had just fired their manager. And this was the first game managed under the former player turned manager. And that this team was in a state such that they needed to make a change in the managerial role. So like when you say, oh, they went toe to toe with Tigres, they went toe to toe with Tigres ish, not really full on Tigres. So from that standpoint, it kind of changes the way I view the match. And then we'll talk more about this as we go along, but they had the best lineup they could roll out there right now, given fitness. The only person that they could have started that they didn't was Luca Orishano. And I don't think anybody thought that he was 90 minutes match fit right now. And certainly there's been no indication of that. And there was definitely some good in this match, but there was definitely a lot more of the same in that this team switches off on defending at the most inopportune times. And we are now 4 matches in a row where this $30 million offense produces 1 goal. And we can talk about chances created. We can talk about opportunities that created. At the end of the day, the scoreboard says this team has scored 1 goal in 4 consecutive matches each. And for the amount of money they have invested into the offense, and especially for the state of Tigres, I think coming away from this game only scoring 1 goal, I think you have to view that as a disappointment, even if overall you can say, well, a draw against the Liga MX team, a top Liga MX team in the abstract isn't the worst result in the world. So I'm 24 hours later, as we record this, I'm still kind of like struggling to figure out how this all fits together.
Yeah. Grayson, I don't know. We're at the point where we're just checking vibes after last night. I was pretty positive about the team looking back on it 24 hours later. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, they're a good team. They had the better part of the game last night. They clearly have a lot of skill up and down the roster. I think I'm kind of close to where Chief is, though. And like my thought on the team is like, they're not killers. And I'm not sure they've ever been killers. You go like they certainly weren't last year, and even 23 when they were extremely good, right?
It was 1-0.
If they got a fight and it became down to like which team buckles, it was them. Like that's how you lose 2-0 leads in consecutive quarterfinals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you can be really good, and they are really good. But if you look at this game and you look at the Philly game, like the Philly players, they came to win, right? We talked about it, and I don't want to rehash that game, but it was like, they were immediately on every ball, right? They were immediately on the man with the ball. They were, if there was a loose ball, there was a Philly player like already running for it before anybody on Cincinnati realized it was loose. And, I think part of this was, the officials allowed this more than than I would have liked, but it really feels like Tigres took the fight to him.
Yeah.
And Tigres was going to make the ref make calls, which is what you expect from a Liga MX team for sure.
It's definitely the Mexican style of play, and you have to be aware of that going into it.
Yeah, and it's how you end up with teenage Hidebe, not leaving the ground on a header goal that ends up being the away goal that Tigres wanted to come away with, and the goal that kept us from winning the game. Right?
Yeah. It is funny that it's the little moments of execution that continue to kill this team. I like to think that will come out in the wash as the season goes on, but there is a part of you that looks back at how 24 ended to a little bit about how 23 ended, and you do wonder if that is possible.
I will say for 23, while the team overall I do think probably was not killers, you had a couple on the field.
Right.
Like Miazga and Mosquera were killers.
Yeah.
I think Lucho's a killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Vasquez, probably not, but like he would always finish with authority, right? Like he would hit balls.
Barrial was a killer.
Yeah, Barrial was a killer.
Yeah. So I guess as we're doing top line here, this is match number, what are we?
5.
That was the 5th match for FC Cincinnati.
Yes.
And so the big sort of overarching thing with this team right now is, and the narrative that we're still going with this team is patience. It needs time to come together. That was sort of the narrative after Philly was patience. It needs time to come together. My question to the two of you is, when do we run out of patience? And I know that like it's early to ask this question, but I'm just trying to project out to like, when should a competent coaching staff, because we all assume this team is very talented, and we all assume this coaching staff is competent. When is it time to start expecting results from Evander, Denke, and like, we can't use the excuse any longer of it's new. You've got to wait. You got to have some patience, because this is 5 competitive matches they've played now. And I know that we've talked in the last time about the lack of time training, but these guys have spent a lot of time on the field together now at this point. 5 games is a lot of games to still be having balls being played to the wrong spot, tentative passing, tentative time on the ball. There was a moment in last night's game where there was so much standing around and so much waiting for people to move and so much passiveness on FC Cincinnati. And the moment that sort of encapsulated this for me is it's in the second half. Evander is standing on the ball, waiting for something to happen, and he gets his pocket picked from behind.
Yeah.
Because the ball stopped moving. And that's sort of like the hallmark of how FC Cincinnati has looked for this year, going back to last year as well, is standing on the ball, waiting for something to happen. And we assume that that's a product of this team just isn't where it needs to be together. How much longer is this going to take?
I think it's a moving line. I think I think you just gotta, you're not even like measuring it yet. You're more just monitoring, but they do need to be better than a goal a game.
Yeah.
Like Philly has scored 4 goals. I think they scored 4 goals both their first 2 games.
They did.
Right. And
Baribo's on track for an 84 goal season.
And so the questions, like at some point in the year, right, there's going to be questions, or we'll have answers to questions of is Kevin Denke better than Ty Baribo, right? Is Evander better than Daniel Gazdag, right?
Yeah.
And
see, I think we already have those answers. Like, I think we
no,
already
we don't
have
we don't have those answers, but like,
I think they are. I think that there is not a soul.
Sure.
There's not a soul. And that's part of the frustration, I think, with the fan base is that every single pundit that watches this league, that watches international soccer, the universal reaction is Kevin Denke is one of the best prospects to come to MLS at his age ever.
Right.
The Evander is a player who comes in, and the consensus among all of the punditry is this is an MVP candidate. He was an MVP candidate last year. He will be an MVP candidate this year. That's the caliber of player coming in. So like when you say we're waiting to find out if the players are any good, I don't think we are. I think we know who these players are. My question is,
I guess I was building to a point.
Did I cut you off on?
And then I stopped talking.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
And it's like, I don't know when you definitively answer those questions. Maybe it's the summer, right? Maybe you get to the summer and you're like, and maybe if your answer is yes, Kevin Denke is better than Ty Baribo. Yes, Evander is better than Daniel Gazdag. And if they haven't outperformed them by the summer, it's a really awkward question to be answering, right?
Yeah.
And it leads to some really uncomfortable conclusions. I think we're getting ahead of ourselves.
So do I.
But I do
absolutely.
think that the expectation needs to be that Denke is outperforming these. I mean, I don't want to be unfair, but if he's not outperforming like basically every striker in the league except for Latte Loth, like I would if I spent the money on him, I'd have questions.
Yeah.
Like I'd want to know why.
Yeah.
Right.
And if it does take a year for these guys to get settled, speed that up. Find a way to speed that up.
It can't take a year. I mean, we were praising the performance of the GM specifically because we didn't have to wait.
Yes.
To restart the window. Right.
Also, we've seen guys step into this team and immediately be effective. Orishano, Buka, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And we are having a problem where it's like, you know, we were in 23, we were talking about a window to 26, right? Well, it turned out that window was 23. Period. Okay.
Right.
And then now we're like, well, we don't have to reset the window. We just went right into a new one. But if you got to wait for a year for this stuff to happen, and by the way, the entire point of signing Evander is because he's proven and already effective in the league.
Right.
And so he's supposed, like the rationale is he's worth $12 million in part because he's good right away.
Right.
Right.
Right. So if we're waiting for him to be good, and again, we haven't waited. I think it's disappointing that it didn't happen immediately.
It's been 5 games.
We're within. I think we're still within the window of like, especially given when people got into training and the congestion at the beginning of the season, we're still within the thing where it's like, okay, well, like at least let everybody train together for a week.
Yeah. Right.
Right. But I'm also on the other hand, I'm like, when does this team just get to be good? Right.
Yeah.
I have an answer for you, Chief. I'll put hard numbers and dates down for you.
Okay. I love it. Hit me.
All right. So as I'm looking at the schedule right now, Saturday, April 5th.
Oh my God.
No, hang on. Walk with me here.
All right.
Saturday, April 5th.
Heads up. I will be in Aspen.
That's the least shocking part of this conversation so far.
That. They play New England Revolution. They have 6 matches from now until then, including that match. I will say if FC Cincinnati is not still in CONCACAF Champions League come April 5th, that means, you know, I'm assuming they get knocked out against Tigres. If they're in, that will change my math here. But by the end of the whistle on April 5th, if they haven't scored at least 8 goals, it's time to worry.
Wait, 8 goals between now and then, or 8 goals?
8 goals between now and then. That is 1 goal a game plus 2.
So how many games will we have played by that point?
That is 6 games. So I need 8 goals in 2 games.
8 games. No. How many league games will be in by that point?
It'll be 11 games
It's
total.
a third of the year. You're saying it's going to take a third of the year in order to know whether or not this team is coming together.
It's 11 games total. That is what? 5 league games? 5 league games. That's all I'm asking for. That seems easy.
Something I would add to what Chief said is or not add to it, but really push back on it, is
the exact opposite, in fact.
Subtract, in fact.
Well, I'm adding the words.
Fair enough.
Is the point has been made. And this is, I'm not going to like saying this.
No, I cannot wait.
The point has been made that if what you care about primarily is MLS Cup, you don't have to actually like be good until like mid-year.
Correct.
I'm not happy about saying that. I don't want that to happen. But like you will definitely want to see progress, because this is a team that this is not the situation where like they're going to add a big signing in the summer, right? This is a situation. Well, this is a team that's basically complete.
You have to assume that this is it, because they're on the 2DP model.
At most, it's at most it's like depth or like luxury signings.
Right.
Like, I think no matter what else happens the rest of the year, well, that's not true. I think as long as the players on this roster stay on this roster,
yeah,
the best 11 this team will be able to field this year is currently on the roster.
Okay. That tracks.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I include Miazga in that, by the way.
Right.
So that's, I think this is like, we spent some time on this, but I do think that this is the source of sort of the frustration, and that like the underpinnings of what all the fan reactions are to this game is that I don't think there's a question. This is a really talented roster. I think everybody believes that. I think the pundits believe that. I think the fans believe that. I think the players believe that. I know the players believe that, because that was basically what Evan Lauro was saying when he was on the show, that like really talented roster. And I think that like everyone is sort of waiting to see when it breaks out. And what I mean when I say when it breaks out is that, look, they could win MLS Cup or they could win Shield, grinding out 1-0 wins. But you don't spend $30 million to grind out 1-0 wins. The people want, and I think people rightly are wanting this team to start putting up 3-4 goals every so often, to like actually beat some teams, to start finishing chances. And, a couple of, he took a rip right at the goalkeeper, or he took a rip and forced a save. It's all right. We're kind of beyond that. Let's see the ball hit the back of the net a little bit. Let's see the ball. Let's see some play that leads to chances being put past the keeper. And it would be one thing if there was a lot of unproven players on this roster. I just don't think there are. And so I think that that's left people saying, all right, when? Like, we all know that there's gas in the tank. Somebody turn the car on and hit the accelerator. Now, lest it all be sort of like kind of like negative, I do want to say that if you're looking for a reason to be positive coming out of this result, I don't think you have to squint real hard. And that is that, for me at least, when Luca Orishano came onto the field for this team,
oh baby,
it looked like a completely different team.
Oh baby.
And that what it did was that all of a sudden there was someone who was incredibly creative, incredibly aggressive with the ball, centrally located. And almost immediately when he comes on the field, he is pushing forward. He is getting the ball into dangerous positions. He takes a couple of shots. And then it's a total tease, because within 15 minutes, they've subbed on Sergio Santos and he's moved back out to the wing, which was just like, what are we doing here, man?
I don't know if he was in like the minute restriction or something, but he comes in what, like the 65th minute?
About that, yeah.
I think it was way too late.
Yeah.
Like, if you're taking this game seriously at 1-1, knowing this is your home leg, I think he's a halftime sub.
No, see, I have now come around to the exact opposite, that he should have started the game. Because for this reason specifically, because if he starts the game and he's on a pitch count, he is going to play up top in that attacking role next to Denke the entire time. If you bring him on late, then when you go to move Santos on to add more firepower on to get a result, the only thing you can do then is move Orishano out wide because Santos only has one position he can play.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that, but I'm assuming. I guess I didn't say this, but the built-in assumption to what I was to my suggestion was that he wasn't going to start the game under any circumstances because he hasn't been like available for any games coming up to this one. And if Pat has any choice. If a guy's not been available, he comes on as a sub, then he goes on, he starts a game later. Right. So if you were going to bring him in as a sub, I think as a halftime sub. After halftime, I leaned over to you, Kevin, and I said, if they're taking this game seriously, Orishano comes on in the 50th minute.
Yep.
And it's too late. And then, he's up top for a short period of time, and then you move him to right wing back.
He had 15 minutes up top. Yeah.
He still does some stuff.
Yeah.
From the right wing back spot, but oh man.
I would have rather have seen at that moment.
Didn't they then move Baird over there and move him back up?
They should have put Baird in for Yedlin. I know it's not ideal, but just to keep Orishano up top and tell Baird play defense. You're not playing offense. Or in a bizarro universe, Noonan is comfortable rolling out a back four on defense. And we see what more attackers look like or more midfielders look like.
Even in 15 minutes, he created some stuff, but it's a numbers game.
Yeah. Let him create.
He's going to create more in 45.
Right. You can chalk it up as training time together with Evander, which, by the way, Evander has a very...
Evander did some nice stuff, by the way.
Yeah, no, he has like a very subtle game. Yeah, he has a very subtle game to him, and I think Orishano is like
shut up, Chief. He styled a lot in that game.
Orishano is adding a little bit of lemon at the end of a dish. All right, it made everything else pop with Evander, and it was awesome to see those two working together. I want to see more.
I want to see more too. Evander was the latest person onto this FC Cincinnati roster. And I'll say this, you see the flashes of talent there. And yeah, he styles on some people and he's nice with it every so often. I need to see more consistency from Evander, and I need to see Evander doing things that put people into dangerous positions with the ball. This team needs him to facilitate a little bit more, or it needs him to get on the end of other people facilitating. I don't care if he scores goals or assists goals. Just like I said, my big moment of the match was him being dispossessed from behind in the second half because he didn't know where to go with the ball and he was being tentative. And I need to see Evander, and I want to see Evander where he isn't being tentative like that, and he is playing more free flowing, more instinctually, and more aggressively. And I don't think we've seen that from him yet.
Fighting words for the league's leading, or the team's leading goal scorer.
Here's what I absolutely don't need is I don't need him, not pressing. I don't need him switching off. I don't need him disappearing for stretches of games, because these are the things that people were saying about him as we were getting ready to spend $12 million on this guy.
Right.
And I am it's the type of things where it's man, if these people are right, if these randos were right, what is our GM doing? But I think he's fine.
Yeah. No, I think
he's better than fine, but I think
Yeah, this team is fine. I think this was overall a disappointing result, but a good result. And I think both things can be true in this instance. I like the chances that the team are creating. I like the chances that were not created on the other end. And I do think so. Think about this. What if the game script was flipped in such that let's say Tigres scores in like the 75th minute and then Buca scores in the 87th minute. Do we feel better about this game, or did Buca score too early?
I feel worse. If Tigres scores first and then we steal one back, man, I don't like that.
You don't like that at all? Okay.
No.
I mean, it wouldn't ultimately change anything in so much as that, like, the goal Tigres scored in this game was just poor defending from teenage Hadebe. And you can go
also,
back.
it seemed like people switched off because they thought the ball was out of bounds.
A little bit.
It was very offside leading up to that, but yes.
It was, but I mean, like, it's part of a larger problem this team has that I've started to notice a lot more. And once you notice this, it's going to be hard to unnotice it. And that's that there is a very real problem on FC Cincinnati with jumping. I don't know what it is, but this team, it's like they're running a bad version, like an older version of an operating system where they're just a hair slow when it comes to all their reactions. An input lag pressing the controller button.
It's a long-standing issue.
It's been a really long-standing issue where
it's how they lost these semifinals in 23
every time.
Just I want you, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry that I'm going to ruin a little portion of watching soccer for you with FC Cincinnati. Just focus on when there are aerial balls, how often FC Cincinnati players mistime their jumps. It is unbelievable how often, like, I was genuinely sitting there wondering whether or not Obi has a glass eye, because the man has no depth perception when it comes to judging these balls. Angle, not great with it. Obi, not great with it. Hadebe, not great with it. And they lose so many aerial duels because they jump too early and they're coming down as opposed to meeting the ball at its apex. They jump too late, or they jump from the wrong spot and miss the ball entirely. And on this goal, that's what it was, is that Hadebe doesn't start to jump until the attacker is already a foot off the ground. And he's not going to make that up in the air. You're not going to be able to accelerate going up. That's never going to happen. You're not going to race a guy upward.
And it's disappointing too, because Hadebe has 6 inches on the guy that beats him on the header.
I'm legitimately, I was texting with a friend of mine about this. Do we need to get I was suggesting, the suggestion was made for Travis Steele from head coach Miami basketball.
Ooh.
Or Mick Cronin, somebody who's shorter. Like Mick is 3 apples tall. Somebody who can talk to soccer players at their level versus some towering basketball coach. But just get a shorter college basketball coach to come in and do rebounding drills with these guys, just to teach them how to high point something and how to time a jump up. Dude, this is some Ted Lasso shit. But it's a problem for this team, and it costs them this game.
Mick Cronin is literally the perfect candidate for this job. Those UC defenses were brutal back in the day. Rebounding was key. Yeah.
Time your jumps better. Just time it.
Chief, I've got a really fun exercise for people to play at home. Bring to the game, or if you're watching away, just have with you a switched off Xbox or PlayStation controller, and just see when you would jump. just see
hit
how
the jump
off,
button. Yeah.
How off is FCC versus where you would have hit the jump button versus where anybody else is jumping.
If you're in the First Financial Club or in the Pitch View Club, if you see the aerial ball coming in, maybe in football they shout ball, 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 ball when the ball is going over the top. Just yell jump. Jump. Let them know when to jump. Jump. We can help.
On a more positive note, though, just to go back to it, Buca's goal, awesome. I love seeing Buca take the step up here. He has become vital to this team.
It was a nice little sequence of play too. It was
Yeah.
Kubo lays off for Denke, who lays off for Buka, and who just absolute laser blast of a shot.
Yeah. Love to see that work. Buka had another moment a little bit later that I will say I incorrectly tweeted was Kubo's moment. It was Buka who basically had the goalkeeper scrambling around, crawling around on the ground, whipped the ball into Denke, who I think just straight up whiffs the ball. It goes out for a goal kick.
Bounces right over his foot.
Yeah.
In the moment, I was a little hot about it. Drink, I guess, whatever.
It's tricky.
It would have been there were defenders in front of Denke, so I don't know that it would have been. It's not quite a tap in, but you got to get that on frame. Even still, like there was no keeper in the box. You would expect for what Denke is, how good we know he is. You would expect that he needs to get that on frame, and. I don't know. I'll ask the question. He had a wide open miss against Philly. He had another open net miss against this. Is everything all right with Kevin? Or do we need to start talking sports psychologist here? The yips.
No, he is good. I want to see my striker getting these opportunities. Okay, he'll revert to the mean. He's getting used to our weird fields. I don't know. Pick your excuse. I think he'll come good soon.
All right. Just asking questions.
But put a pen in it. Note it. Mark it down in your notebooks. We'll see if it's a trend that continues.
Yeah.
It would be very funny that if he only scores bangers and misses like tap-ins,
I don't want to live on that timeline.
But if he gets 25 goals still, that'd be a really funny timeline.
Yeah.
I do think this is unfair. Oh, it's not. I'm sorry. It's not unfair.
He
needs to have 25 goals.
He was a very expensive signing.
Yeah.
Broke the league record there for
he also, like I said, everybody says he's good. He also showed how good he was like in the first 2 games of the year, to where it's like, sorry, man, you've set a very, very high bar, and I will be upset when you do not clear it now at this point. I know what's there.
He looks good in this game, too. It's just an unfortunate miss there. Is there anything else with this game, or should we move on to Patreon questions here?
No. Just the usual battery of stuff. This pains me to say. I think this was a self-correcting problem, because I think Orishano is going to start this coming week, but it wasn't. I'll put it this way. Whatever Yuya Kubo was asking for in the preseason,
much.
He did not back up whatever that claim was these first couple of weeks. It has not been good. It was he had a couple of okay moments, but by and large, I think it was not a great game for him. Everybody else, it's just I am awaiting when it starts to click, and there was no one had a howler of a game, I didn't think. And that's what kind of makes it a lot harder to accept the result, is that usually in these situations, when they lose, there's plenty of blame to go around for a loss. That there's this didn't work. I thought Yedlin had a pretty good game. I thought Engel had a pretty good game. Denke, Evander, I wanted more from, but he didn't do anything that was, bad by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'll say about this is that the officiating in this match was horrendous.
It was bad.
And look, my baseline expectation for officiating in these CONCACAF matches and in the MLS, my baseline expectation is bad. And they somehow managed to limbo under that incredibly low bar. It was inconsistent. It was selective in how much contact was required to draw a whistle.
Yep.
There was some incredibly toxically cynical play from Tigres as soon as they got their away goal, and to nothing, no effort from the refs to remedy the situation. And then the comically short stoppage time at the end of the match after Tigres had flopped for the better part of 8 to 9 minutes in the second half. And then you get the standard battery of 4 minutes, which is no goals plus four subs on each side. And it's like, no, man, like there has to be some consequences for this type of crap.
The AR on the First Financial Club side was never in position.
No. He was just out for a light jog that game. He
missed so many offside balls.
Yeah.
And then whenever a ball was like across the end line, if it wasn't a situation where like the play had been down in the attacking third for a while, he missed it. Like he wasn't there for it. Like the center ref was calling those.
Right.
Like,
he didn't even, and I think he waved his flag for maybe one foul. Like he didn't see a single foul.
Yeah.
Right.
Or he saw one foul all game.
And I think that foul was right after he had missed another offside.
Yeah.
If you would have told me that guy, they just pulled him out of the crowd and told him to act like you're watching, I would have believed it.
It's one of the security guards they gave the uniform to.
Man, he just didn't have it.
Yeah. I do want to say though, on this game, I was pretty critical of Obi's performance. I thought Obi and Kubo had one of the worst performances. Coming out of this game though, or I should say after the game, the post Damon Gumbert got a nice little recap up on the website, pointed out Obi, highest percentage passer on the team last night, was only dispossessed once.
I got to see the passing map.
Fair.
Goes
97% of his passes, only dispossessed once. I mean, of the guys you want, accurate long balls, he was 1 of 1. Successful dribbles, he's 1 of 1. I mean, pretty good. Didn't lose an aerial duel. Didn't win one either. Love that.
I don't think that it explains I don't think it even comes close to explaining the loss against Philly, to be honest. But
no,
having Pavel on the field versus not having Pavel on the field is so different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so different.
In terms of progressive moves.
In terms of where the ball can go.
Yeah. Obi can't do what Pavel does, basically.
No. It is interesting, though. Like, you do notice a little bit now, and you're starting to notice how Noonan wants to tactically play. They do not want to, if they can avoid it in games like this, move down Yedlin's side. And I think that there's some fear of getting beat going back the other way, since because Yedlin plays
there.
Yedlin plays over top of Flores. And so the team becomes very lopsided as a result. And it was funny that, like, you'll see Yedlin wide open and they'll cycle the ball back the other direction because they don't want to risk Yedlin getting trapped deep on a cross and being unable to track back and cover for Flores. So
yeah, and if there's a different reason for that, you know, and somebody somehow knows that reason, let us know.
Hit me in the DMs.
I just want to know. I just want to know why we're doing certain things.
Yeah, because Yedlin. I mean, when Yedlin's had the ball in advanced positions this year, he's looked really good with it.
Yeah,
like he's contributed some of the better opportunities. I'd be curious to know if that is indeed the case.
Pat was mad that he got an assist by, lobbing a ball into the box.
That's not how we want to play, son.
That's the opposite. I specifically told you not to do that.
Final point on the CONCACAF Champions Cup. That crowd last night,
not great.
Plenty of good seats available. At what point does MLS look around and say, maybe the Open Cup wasn't the worst thing in the world?
I don't know what the solution is there. I don't know what you do. It's tough. I think you just need to make the tickets really cheap. Yeah. I know there's a break-even point of like the club needs to run the stadium.
Look, what you do is make the first round home game really cheap and include this game in season ticket packages. Because this is the better. This is the game you want to have it's more important to have a better crowd at,
right?
Because it's against the better team, and it's always going to be that way.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. People will pay
frankly,
to see the first game.
We are getting ripped off by being charged a full ticket price to play Motagua. I'm sorry.
That's true.
It's
I'd rather play the Riverhounds or Louisville or something.
It's they are reaching into your pocket and inspecting your wallet.
Yeah. Or like there needs to be it might be an off-season episode or like a break episode. There needs to be a complete rethink of the CONCACAF Champions Cup because it doesn't work. And it's not just us. I think there were only 7,000 people at the LAFC Columbus Crew game last night, and that's for two very, very talented MLS clubs that don't meet on a year.
It was in LA, right?
Yeah, it was in LA. It's against a high quality opponent, and it's not even a team that you see every year on the home schedule where you can be like, oh, we're just going to see Crew later this year. That's not always the case. And it's interesting to me that the team obviously has a very healthy season ticket base. A lot of these top MLS teams do, but the second you ask people to reach into their pocket for an additional $1, it's amazing how quickly that dries up.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the answer is. It's weird to me.
Yeah. Questions to be answered later. Let's head on over to part 2. We got some Patreon questions. We'll wrap it all up in part 3 with a look ahead to Toronto this weekend. So let's get to those questions. Before we get on over to the next part of the episode, I do want to tell you about our friends over at Cincy Shirts. That is right. New year, new you. Go pick up some new threads over at Cincy Shirts. They got what you're looking for. They got Cincinnati sports. They got Cincinnati culture, Cincinnati geography, Cincinnati businesses, everything you're looking for. They got it over there at cincyshirts.com. Hey, when you're there, use the promo code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps. They knock 10% off your entire order for using that one. And if I don't mind dropping this one, we sell merch through Cincy Shirts. That's right. You want a Post shirt, a Cincy shirt from Cincy Shirts? Check them out. It is good stuff there. We will have new designs for the new year, but they're not there yet. So this might be your last chance to collect some of these designs. You want an Opie shirt, one of the 12. They got some good stuff there. Hey, they're not just online. They're in person as well. Go check them out in Loveland and in Northern Kentucky. They've got 2 fantastic locations. They will print on demand. You can work with them, come up with maybe a little goofy idea. They'll work with you, I promise. And again, the promo code, ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps. They knock 10% off your order. That works on Post merch as well. Want to support us twice? Absolutely, you can do that. So huge thank you again to our friends over at Cincy Shirts, and a huge thank you to you, listener, for using that code. All right, we are back. And as I said before, we have questions from the Patreon. That's right. For $2 a month, you can support us financially, spiritually, and emotionally. It lets you ask a question, which we will answer here on the podcast. You get to ask one a month. How nice is that? You also get your name in highlighter pink on the Discord. If your name is not highlighter pink and you do pay for the Patreon, let me know. I can fix that for you. You don't have to pay money to join the Discord, though. We've got a good community over there of people talking about who knows what online. So it's pretty nice. Check that out. But let's get to the questions from our lovely patrons here. Bailey Rolson says, it seems that ever since we scored 6 on Miami, the team hasn't looked like its old self. Did beating them put a curse on FC Cincinnati? And if so, how do we break it?
It is weird how that moment is very much a BCAD moment for FC Cincinnati. And the team has not looked the same since that moment.
Did we use up all the goals?
Did they think the movie ended there? And that the celebration afterwards and just like, and everybody lived happily ever after?
What we've been living through is the direct-to-DVD sequel.
Or like the Star Wars sequels, where it turns out everybody was miserable after the end of Return of the Jedi. Nobody had a good time.
If there is a curse to break, I think we have to beat Messi. Because we beat that team without Messi. I think we have to beat him. I don't know that we have beaten him.
We beat them with Messi in 23, although he didn't start.
Okay.
I think we were the first team to beat them in a game Messi played in.
Okay. I couldn't remember if he played that game or not. Okay.
He just came in as a sub.
I want to be very clear that I'm only kidding when I say this.
Oh.
Do we have to knock Rasconis to the ground or burn Rasconis to the ground?
Probably got to sign Ronaldo.
that's the play. And offer him ownership stake in Rasconis.
Just give him Rasconis.
You just have it. Ronaldo's.
Do we?
We don't need to sign Ronaldo. We just need to name Rasconi's Ronaldo's. We have Ronaldo's in Cincinnati then.
That might be it. Should we do a pizza party at Rasconi's? Should we have a post lift the curse party of some kind?
I've never been in that place. I didn't go into that place when it was FB's. I didn't go in that place when it was whatever it was before it was Rasconi's. I'm never stepping foot in there.
Did it just close?
Yeah, I think it closed.
It came back, didn't it?
Oh. It may have closed again. I don't know.
Oh, really? I know the city shut it down for a bit because the Aaron Bupenza incident was part of the complaint, the nuisance complaint the city filed. There was a lot of other stuff too. But the Aaron Bupenza incident made it in. It was part of the city's case.
Incredible.
I will say this, that the Aaron Bupenza incident would be a great name for a ska band.
That's the name for the post trivia team.
Right.
Ooh, I like that.
According to Instagram, it looks like they are still active as of 4 days ago, advertising things happening.
Okay.
Latest post 4 days ago, Rasconi Bar and Kitchen. Grown and sexy tonight. New shit poppin' pop out.
I mean, we have to go.
I mean, it just sounds like my kind of place.
I think we should organize, and Todd will get a kick out of this. We should organize an amateur boxing event at Rasconi's.
It's just show up. just show up and say, who wants to go?
I like it. Kate D asks, I think, a really good question, a topical question, and a point that we didn't get to in part one. Since Matt's return date is unknown, and we seem to need more passion, fight, dark arts from our captain, who would you pick instead of Miles? And I'll say I agree with Kate's assessment here that Miles may not have the juice.
I don't know enough about Miles as a leader on the team.
Right.
I just don't know it because I'm not in the room with him. I do think that this team probably needs someone that's a little more fiery or a little more of a communicator, a little more of a rah-rah type person to be the captain. And so for that reason, I think maybe you got to give the armband to Pavel, or if not him, what about Lucas Engel just looks like someone who's going to start something, right? He's got a little bit of that vibe of a guy where it's he may what I always think about Matt Miazga, he's the type of man that will honk another man's genitalia if he thinks he can get away with it.
As we have seen.
Right. Doesn't Lucas look kind of like a guy who, if he was scrapping with the ball for someone, then he might give someone a cup check if he thought he could get away with
the ball, you say?
Yeah, grabbing for the ball,
I think the answer is DeAndre Yedlin. I think Yedlin has the passion. I think he has the fire. I think he has the fight. I think he's got a little more trickery in him than meets the eye. I'm a big believer in DeAndre Yedlin as captain.
I like Yedlin as captain. I also had the thought watching the game briefly that like Engel is not a bad shout.
Mm.
That's a vibes pick only though. Like I know nothing about him.
No, because like he when they lined up to start the game, he was getting to the left back spot and he just kind of instinctively started hyping up the crowd.
Yes, he did. It was nice.
You know, and he was the only guy on the team that was doing that. I'm not saying you have to do that, but I am saying that like
good instincts.
If that's just like something the guy just like realizes in the moment or feels in the moment needs to be done, that feels like a captain kind of situation.
Yeah.
And then we also know that MLS refs don't respect DeAndre Yedlin for some reason.
That
is
true. That is a
like
mark.
They don't want to see him. They don't want to hear from him. Even if he's the captain, if he talks to them, he's getting carded.
Yeah.
So it's not. Look, this is not me. Like I've got a world of respect for DeAndre Yedlin, but at the end of the day, if you know the refs are like, for whatever reason, don't want to hear from this guy, you have to take that into account.
Yeah.
When you're deciding like who's going to be most effective as captain.
But you know Miazga's going to get the armband.
Well, right, because he's not going to be able to help himself.
He's going to take the armband. Because
we're like, you know, the ref is going to do like that little circle. He's going to do like the shush, nobody else talk to me motion that they're doing this year. And Miazga's going to walk over and he's like, you know, I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
Yeah, they'll say, I'm only talking to the captain. And Matt will just be like, I'm the captain now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just rip the armband off somebody.
Or make his own that just says, like the Ron Swanson, I can do what I want permit. Like he just has like a captain that he wrote in crayon that he just wears around.
I will say, like, you know, if I hated a class of people, and I do, and it's pro referees, I can't think of a better way to punish them than saying you have to spend 90 minutes talking to Matt Miazga.
How often can you change who the captain is?
I think every game.
I think I've never seen them change the captain between guys on the field.
That's what I was saying. Just every 5 minutes.
Idea. That's a fun idea. Is like people just be like, no, I'm like just like tap me in.
No, I could absolutely.
I got something to say. Give me the band.
No, I could honestly see a situation where DeAndre Yedlin has the armband and Miazga just walks over, grabs the armband off him, puts it on, and like flexes right in the ref's face, pointing that he's wearing it, and starts giving him a piece of his mind.
There's room for abuse here, and I want to see it.
It's going to turn into like the talking stick from Lord of the Flies. Like
that's exactly it.
Miazga like walking by the ref, he's like pointing up in the sky. He's like, "You see those clouds? Do they look natural to you? Those aren't real clouds."
Got real shady all of a sudden.
Before I continue this conversation, we're going to need to prove you're not a lizard person.
When I say chem, you say.
Michael P asks, imagine a knockout tournament where each team is made up of clones of each FCC player, an all Kubo team, an all Alvis Powell team, etc. Which players' clones make the semifinal, and how does it go from there?
Between like the whole league, or just like
just
players
FCC players?
Buka.
I mean, it's going to be. I think an all Buka team makes the semifinals. I think that's fair.
I think
Kubo.
Kubo. I think I would rather have an all Kubo team than an all Buka team.
Would you take the Kubo form that we've seen recently, though?
Yeah, but I don't know if Buka can. I don't know if Buka can play all those positions. Like, there's going to be a weakness in Buka's game somewhere. The other person sneaky that doesn't get talked about enough here is DeAndre Yedlin. I think a team of 11 DeAndre Yedlins would be a lot of fun to watch.
11 DeAndre Yedlins. Any love for an all Miazga team?
How many red cards would they pick up?
Agents of Chaos. Just the agency of chaos.
What would be the team you would most want to see? Not that they would win, but that I'm just curious what this would look like. And why is the answer Sergio? All Sergio Santos.
All Sergio.
All Sergio Santos.
Just I don't think it would be good, but I'd like to watch it.
No way. An all Alvis Powell team would win some games like 20-0 and lose all of the other games.
An all Elvis Powell
40-0.
team would be like sneaky dangerous. Yeah.
All Elvis Powell versus all DeAndre Yedlin. Who wins?
Yedlin like 6 out of 10 times.
Yeah. Any
But
love for an
aggregate,
all,
maybe Powell.
yeah, all Denke team?
All K team.
He's pretty
would be
nice.
pretty
He's
good.
nice with the ball.
He's really good with the ball. Yeah.
He's tall enough to play defense and keeper. You know, it's not like Lucho was with being tiny.
All Miles versus all Miazga. Who wins?
All Miazga.
All Miazga.
Yeah.
He gets in Miles' head from like minute 1.
Or can an all Miazga team coexist with one another though? Because remember, that means you have 10 Matt Miazgas as your teammates.
All Loro versus all Celentano.
Laura wins.
Yeah, of course. Only because he's been on the podcast
More. Yeah.
I think he's a better shit talker than Roman is, though, apparently.
Also, he gets in Roman's head, and also he is better with the ball.
Yeah. So
I mean, Roman probably scores more on Evan, but Evan probably gets
Evan gets more opportunities.
Evan gets more opportunities.
Yes.
Roman converts more of the opportunities he gets.
I like that.
Big chances created percentage.
So
Yeah.
are we saying an all Kubo team probably
but
wins?
if you played Kendrick like over the loudspeakers during
Yeah.
that game, Roman would just self-destruct.
Yeah, it's a true story.
we giving the win to an all Kubo team then?
Let's say give us all Buka.
I'm giving it to all Buka.
Yeah, vibes.
Especially with how he started this year. We know he can score. We know he can play defense.
Also, we've finally seen this team playing with some tactics.
It's not clear that he knows tactics. It's just he wants some.
He wants them.
Intern Luke.
Oh, for Cincy?
Intern Luke asks, "What's the best Apple TV Plus show?"
Silo.
Ooh.
Oh, it's Severance.
Severance is pretty. Severance is probably the best show, but season 2 is unfinished. We don't know how the series is going to finish. I will say, as far as completed so far series, Slow Horses is pretty damn good. There's a lot of episodes out there. It's one of the few shows that I've seen consistently good and the same level of good from the first season through, I think we're through 4 or 5 seasons. It has maintained its goodness. It's very good.
There are some sneaky, really good Apple TV shows. Like, it's funny how like everyone bitched about, I have to buy Apple TV in order to get the MLS season pass. Man, the ratio of hits to product for Apple is just off the charts good.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about our love for All Mankind on here before.
Foundation is great.
Foundation's very good.
Yeah, but All Mankind is not like in like the Severance level. Like,
no,
it's a fun little show, but it's
like campy.
It's fallen off for sure. It's campy.
Yeah,
it's always been campy. I think it fell off a little bit.
It has.
It doesn't need to fall off because the nice thing about it is they just like
keep
jump
going.
like 10 years or whatever every season. So it's like you get like a reboot.
Well, you would have thought, but that last season was just way too much of a continuation. I need new characters. They need to kill like all of the Baldwins off. I need new lineages here.
This is the part where I confess I haven't seen a minute of Severance.
Severance is out. Severance. I've never seen Silo, but I will tell you, Severance is better. It's like, imagine you could like silo your brain.
I also saw Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So,
it was very similar to the last episode. Let's go over to Brock Bermel, who asks, what St. Patrick's Day beverage do you look forward to the most?
Look forward to? I mean, like, I drink Guinness year round, so I don't know that but it hits different on St. Patrick's Day a little bit.
I think if you have to look forward to something, it's just like cheap green beer.
I don't know. I will it's the only time of year I will partake in doing an Irish car bomb. I do enjoy an Irish car bomb quite a bit. Politically incorrect name aside.
Yeah, I mean, a Guinness and a Jameson is always nice.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Ooh. Matt B asks a good question.
I do.
The picture kind of sort of looked like you two, and I thought it was really funny.
That'd be the lamest thing ever to subscribe to my own page.
Your own questions.
Yeah, why does Grayson suck?
Did you watch the Apple TV All or Nothing-esque MLS show called Onside? If so, what did you think? Either way, where are you at with Apple TV's content strategy these days? A better host would have put this after the other one, but
yeah, I didn't watch, so I'll let you two take this. I just saw the Pat Noonan clips, and that was about all I needed.
I did end up watching the Hell is Real episode.
It's a good episode.
I don't think so.
Ooh, okay.
I the Pat Noonan stuff is good.
Right.
The rest of it, I could just lose. Like, I don't know. There's nothing. It's not that interesting. It's like very Pat, like not Pat Noonan. It's very normal. Very like just like by the book, you know. Right. And it really bothers me that the game footage is presented out of order.
Yeah.
That like there's and I'm sure I haven't like gone back through because I only watched it once. But so Corey Baird is subbed off in that game for Kevin Kelsey. And then later, and they show Kevin Kelsey score, they show Lucho score, they show Columbus get one back, and then they show like the teams fighting for, finishing out the game. Right. And then Corey Baird pops back up in the game footage. So like they clearly just like spliced in moments of the game without regard to like, this is part of like the actual, temporal narrative of like when things happened in this game. And I'm like, why? Like, why?
I'm going
also the other thing about it, I'm not convinced. They showed some footage from like inside Red Bull Arena that they kind of like link to the Miazga tape. I didn't see like
you can't see.
I got nothing. I got nothing from that footage. I think that's fake. I don't think that's from even the time it happened. I think they just took some like blurry shit and they put it on there and pretended that it was like footage from the time of this thing happening.
I had the same thought about Noonan walking down the tunnel because given the events as described to us by people,
I don't think Noonan be walking.
He should have been on the bus.
No part of the story had Noonan walking down the tunnel to retrieve Matt.
No, the story we had heard was that the entire team was on the bus or was otherwise somewhere else. Yeah.
I actually didn't remember that detail, so I'm not gonna agree with you on that.
Okay.
I'm not gonna disagree with you on that either.
Right.
But like I don't remember that being part. I don't remember Noonan ever being a part of that story.
No.
And so I feel like it was like it just felt like cliched, phoned in, clearly manipulated to like make you think you were seeing something you were not seeing. Again, like why you present game footage out of order, I have no clue. The Corey Baird clip they put in later was just Corey Baird defending a guy for a second. Like it wasn't even that particularly exciting. I don't know why you needed to put that later in the game.
Right.
But
it's carelessness with the material. Yeah.
But the Noonan stuff was good.
Yeah.
But I give the show no credit for that. They didn't unless it comes out they scripted Noonan's lines. That's just I'm convinced we just saw Pat.
Then
we like Pat as a personality. We really like Pat.
I thought it was a good sort of foil to Wilfred Nance and how they have very opposite approaches to the same job and are both successful. I think that's an interesting story. Opposite sides of a rivalry. The one thing. So I have seen.
Oh, the Miazga footage didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, no. The 90%,
I thought we were getting his. Sorry to interrupt, Kevin.
Yeah, no. Like,
but I remember from like MLS Media Day, I thought it was presented. So first of all, I didn't realize it was all going to be in one episode.
Yeah,
like I thought they were going to like be following storylines throughout the season.
See,
that's not the case.
Yeah.
And then also, I thought we were going to get like Miazga's injury and recovery and stuff. I don't know why I thought that, but I really thought that that's like something that was presented in the MLS like preseason media day when they rolled this out.
Somebody said
and that's
that.
not part of it at all.
No, you don't even know he's hurt by the end of the show.
Right, because the for all intents and purposes, and this is the only episode I watched,
right?
But I did ask people, and they say we don't show up again.
Yeah.
So as far as this series is concerned, our season ended in May of 2024.
Which is a harsh review of the 24 season.
Yeah,
come on,
our
we at least made it to July. I've seen 90% of the show. I will say I will agree. It's very much by the books at this point. The Drive to Survive guys have a formula. They stick to it. It's effective, but you've seen it before. The one thing that I wish they would have done, and they kind of do this, but it's more to what Grayson was saying. I think MLS is unique in that you have such a wide variety of type of player in MLS, from the journeyman in Tim Parker, who they do follow, to guys like the coaches in Nance and Noonan having different views, but like Marco Royce and some of the young kids coming up in the academy. So they follow the Sullivan brothers. There's a youngster out of NYCFC that they're following. I think there's interesting stories to tell. What I would have liked to have seen is how their stories evolve and progress over the course of a year. I think that's more interesting. And I think you have to tell those stories as the season is going on. Doing it after the fact just sort of makes it like an individual's documentary. I think if you could somehow do a kind of Hard Knocks with an individual as they go through a season, and you're tracking 8, 9, 10 guys, and you're just sort of checking in with them every episode or every other episode, depending on how interesting things are, I think that's way more compelling of a storyline.
I think that MLS has a lot of unique dynamics that other leagues don't have that you could exploit. Like Brian Anunga is making like $89,000 this year.
Right.
Evan Loro, same.
These are just regular dudes. Like they're not so far unattainable like other athletes are.
Like they're guys, right? Like they're working hard. They are in great physical condition. They are performing in a very competitive field, but they are making like regular guy money, living regular guy lives, and the coworker next to them is a multimillionaire. Right. And like that's a dynamic that you hear like when like you hear like players in like some of the player podcasts that have existed, you like hear about those dynamics a bit. But it's not something that for whatever reason, like the league doesn't seem interested in like doing like a regular guy who works with Messi.
Right.
Like that story is out there. Like I am never mind. I'm not gonna go into this, but I've spent some time ruminating on like what this kind of story looks like. And I think there's a lot of opportunities to tell it. And they're just like, no, we're just gonna do like this one's about Messi. This is, Ricky Puig or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's so interesting because every once in a while you hear like, or see something like posted on Reddit, like, oh, I found out my coworkers are all making $20,000 more a year than me. And I'm so pissed off. I got to go talk to my manager.
Well, I heard that in preseason last year, like during one of the breaks, Lucho like rented like a mansion and hosted everybody for a barbecue or like something along those lines.
Right.
And like, that would be fun to learn something about, right?
Right.
I don't know. Like them just like what guys are, I don't know. But like Chief said, like this isn't like the NFL where like everybody is living just fully inaccessible lives.
Right.
There's people who are living lives very close to what the fans live, except for the fact that they are like constantly just like leaning against the curtain and like watching.
I think the other thing that they're screwing up with this, just from what I've seen, the clips and everything, is that Drive to Survive works. I think. I hate Formula One racing, and I hate like that everybody.
I watched a little bit of Drive to Survive. It didn't work for me.
But like my understanding is there's only like 6 teams in Formula One that anyone gives a crap about. Like there's not a lot of teams. Yeah. And the reason why Hard Knocks at kind of worked originally before it really got sanitized and watered down to the point that now no NFL team wants to do it and they have to like do a college year this year. Like what made it work originally was that it was one team and you were following around guys from one place and it was over a set number of weeks where you could sort of like see things happen and evolve.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that you can do a show about MLS because it's 30 teams, so many players. Like that's an interesting show to me. Even if it's not my team, it's an interesting show to me if it's just we're embedding in with Seattle Sounders and we're going to do an episode about this person who, you know, is coming from, or like to say Cincinnati, that we're doing an episode now about here's a guy from Togo who comes in from Belgium and his number one concern is his home gym and his training regimen and like relocating to Cincinnati when you are having all these expectations.
Who is he playing chess with?
Yeah. Is he playing? Yeah. Like the goalkeeper's room. Like we've heard stories on this podcast about just, you know, what a group of characters they are. You can do you're following them along for an entire year. Like,
is Alec Can alive? People are asking these questions.
But like, you've got to narrow the focus a lot more than they're doing with this show. And the other thing too, is you've got to find the guys who are okay letting you into their lives in a way less scripted sense than a lot of this stuff comes off, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. So let us produce the next one, Apple, MLS. Come on now. That'll do it for the Patreon questions. Should we talk about Toronto and then get out of here?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Head on over to part 3. All right, we are back. There's a match this weekend at TQL Stadium. Oh, baby. FC Cincinnati hosting the Toronto Reds, I think is their nickname. Toronto, not expected to be one of the good teams this year, and they've kind of shown that so far through 2 games. They drew 2-2 against DC United. They lost 4-2 to Orlando City, the same Orlando City who lost 4-2 to Philadelphia in week 1. Some fun transitive properties we can start to apply after this game. Toronto has a couple of key injuries to keep an eye on. Basically 2. One, Richie Larea is injured despite starting their last game. And of note, just for FC Cincinnati fans, Derek Etienne Jr. should be out for this one. Insigne is on the team legally.
Ish.
But he has started like a weird feud with the club where he has refused to play for them, but also has refused to accept any offer that they have presented to him to transfer him. He's apparently been offered up to teams in Spain, Switzerland, and Italy, and he has rejected all of them. Bernardeschi is playing, and as far as I can tell, doing well. He's a good player. Got an assist in their last game. But other than that, I mean, of names you would know, Jonathan Osorio still starts up top at 32 years old for this team. Robin Fraser is the new manager there. One-time possible FCC candidate in the early days, but that's all I got. I think with all of that and where we think this team is talent-wise versus where I think Toronto is talent-wise, I'll be a moron and keep saying it until it keeps happening. I think we should win this one handily. This should be an easy win at home against a bad team.
Yeah, it should be. So back to where we were in segment one is when is this team going to, when are they going to play together? And when will they start to make good on the value that they have brought into this team? So it'll be our first look, I hope, at what this team looks like with Luca Orishano getting a full or at least most of a game run, hopefully up top with Denke. Now, I say that, and of course, probably Denke will sit because he played the full 90 in the midweek, and they're going to want to have him available for the full 90 in Mexico on Tuesday.
Right.
So I don't know. I understand the temptation will be to rotate at least a little bit because they've played a lot of matches, but I want to see this team just blow somebody out. I need them to show me they've got that capability more than I need a fresh set of legs going into what I think is an unwinnable situation in Mexico. So I hope that we see a first choice 11 versus Toronto. I don't wonder if some people will be rested or will come off the bench because they're trying to keep their availability for the second leg of the Champions League. I don't know.
Yeah, the rotation will be a question mark there. I don't know, Grayson, if you're Pat Noonan, you put in a first choice starting 11, the same guys who started against Tigres plus Orishano minus Kubo out there?
I'll probably rotate a bit, but like it doesn't change my expectation.
Yeah.
I think they need to blow this team out.
Yeah.
One way or the other. I don't care who starts this game. I'm like, we think there's good players, I don't know, 16, 17 deep.
Right.
So
we have the most number of TAM players in the league. The backup should be able to do a shift.
I'm ready to see it. I don't care who starts this game.
Yeah.
I am ready to see a team that is playing like champions.
Here's a fun fact.
Like champion aspirants, I guess.
Here's a fun fact. These teams have played 10 times since 2020. Toronto has won 2 of those matchups. The last time they won was September 11th, 2021. This has been a team that we've had their number for a while.
You're always taking an L on September 11th.
Especially as a Canadian team. Get out of here.
Will they be from foreign invaders?
Yeah, will they be fired up because of the tariffs? Like, is that a thing we have to worry about?
They're not even going to be allowed into the country, maybe.
They're going to be showing up 25% later than they thought they would.
I'm pretty sure that the tariffs will be repealed and then reapplied by
again,
the time that we kick this game off. Yeah, it's just fun to see. You don't see us owning a team in MLS when you look at the head-to-heads. That's a rarity, given this team's history.
I need this team to just score goals. Like, I don't want to have another game where they just score one goal, because then there's an uncomfortable narrative that I just don't want to keep seeing.
If they scored 2,
right, just let me love you, man.
Right,
that's how I feel.
Give me 2 goals. Give me 2 goals, and I'll be happy as a clam.
What if they score 3 goals, but all 3 are corners headed in by center backs?
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
just score goals. Because score goals.
If you're good at corners,
that's a good point.
You're gonna get corners during a game, right? Like, it's a thing. You can be like, okay, well, this is a thing we can do.
All right, so it's a goal specific issue. It's not a, say, Evander Denke issue.
Yeah, because I assume that one of them contributed to some kind of build up to get the corner.
Good call. I like that.
The only thing that I won't take, and this is a lie,
I'll take whatever,
is 3 like shots past midfield from Orishano that are 3 goals.
Oh, come on. That would be so fun.
I will take that.
Yeah.
And people will be like,
will
well,
take that and like
people
it.
will be like, well, that's not reproducible. And I'd say, clearly it is.
Yeah, it's 3 times in one game.
Right.
He's done it twice. He did it twice last year.
Or how about this? Like, it's not reproducible, but it looked badass. So shut up.
I'm not here for reproducible goals. I'm here
It's not
for
reproducible.
goals.
Neither are pandas, and you still pay to see it.
Oh God!
Nate, goddamn you! The hell?
I'm trying to see. Oh, here we are. I'm trying to pull up our preview numbers that we pulled out at the beginning of the year. Oh my God. They got a lot to live up to in this one. We predicted at the beginning of the season 3-0 victory here.
It's like a month of goals for this team right now.
If they don't win multiple games by like a 4, 5, or 6 to like 0, 1, 2 scoreline this year, I think that they will have underperformed. Like,
you were going to call for people's heads right there.
This is a team that's built to blow teams out at least occasionally.
Yeah.
And I agree with Chief. Like, you got to see it sometimes. You can't I like being able to win a 1-0 hard fought game.
But we spent $30 million to not have to.
Right.
And I'd like to not have to.
Exactly. Sometimes you just got to get an easy 3 points.
So with that in mind, Grayson, what's the prediction for this Saturday?
You go first.
I'll go first. Okay. I will say 4-0. Toronto is terrible.
It's going to be 1-1 again. It's going to be really annoying.
Sharilla's getting 2, baby. Come on.
I'm going to say 3-2 us.
3-2 is exciting.
Yeah, but too exciting. Like, I'm not going to feel good. Like, it's like I'm not going to feel good about it.
I mean, the ultimate would be 3
when
to 4.
Bernadeschi gets like 2 assists from crosses out wide.
Yeah.
So like, I don't even know who plays forward for them anymore.
Right. The most annoying result would be like losing 4-3.
Akinola's
because
gone,
then
right?
like, you can say, oh, we scored 3 goals. We finally showed some firepower, but
I'm not gonna say I'm like the most knowledgeable soccer knower. I don't know a single one of their forwards.
cool. That's a recipe for someone putting a hat trick on us right there. Thank you for that.
Do they have anybody over the age of 25 starting up top? 23, 20.
I like how they have Bernadeschi as a forward. I'm pretty sure he like typically plays wingback. Am I wrong?
He played on the right side of the midfield in their last game. Yeah. He's a wingback wide midfielder.
Yeah, their guy is Ola Brynhildsen,
25-year-old Norwegian
on loan from Midtjylland, who recently was on loan at Molde and scored 10 goals in 11 games. That's the guy.
Okay.
That's the guy who's going to score 2 on us.
He's 5'9".
He's the son of Rune Brynhildsen. Is a former Norwegian journalist and CEO of Norway's leading commercial radio station P4 Radio Hella Norge, as well as owner of the consultancy Brynhildsen Woldstall Public Relations. In 11 June 2007, he was convicted of insider trading, sentenced to 10 months in prison, which is wild because 10 months is like the longest sentence you can get in Norway.
That's the same you get for mass murder.
Yes, it is. 1.3 million kur was confiscated. He reported to Vestapland prison in Valdres in the summer of 2008 to begin serving his sentence. And he's the father of Ola Brynhildsen.
So they've got a Nepo baby up top.
A Nepo baby who grew up in a carceral household.
It's
like the most dangerous childhood you can have in Norway.
A tax evader? That's
Like
a good point.
Like,
That might
my dad
be
went to
worse
prison
than
for
murder.
insider trading. Like, I only had two choices: be a professional footballer or a Norwegian rapper.
Or either way, I'm going to be making my side hustle on LinkedIn as an influencer.
Right. The mean streets of Oslo.
I bet he's got crypto.
There's no doubt. The strategic crypto reserve. He's buying the dip.
He asked to be paid in crypto.
Specifically Doge.
Yes. I think that's going to do it. I
What
think
do you
that
think
does
what do you think has better accommodations? The Oakley apartment that the guys stayed in USL, or a Norwegian prison?
I've seen the photos of the Norwegian prisons. They look nicer than the dorms I had at UC, for what it's worth.
Yeah, but it's a longer walk to get to Mad Tree from a Norwegian prison. Whatever. Fuck Columbus.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next, or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.